Hello everyone. So, I am here today to finally talk about my most anticipated game of the year, which is Little Astro Bot. So, if you haven't played Astro Bot yet, this is not the video for you because I would highly encourage anyone who's planning on playing Astro Bot, don't watch this, don't listen to this, don't watch any trailers, don't do any of that. Just go and play it with as fresh of eyes as possible. Because this game is, I'm just gonna come out right now and say it. I haven't even introduced Ian yet. I'm gonna come right out and say it. Astro Bot is amazing, and I love it. So, Ian, hello, hi.
Hello, it's me, Ian.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me once again on your humble abode.
You're very welcome. So, before we start on Astrobot, congrats on the Bochi video, by the way. I'm
Hey, thank you very much.
I'm glad you finally remembered your YouTube password. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I think the last time I was actually on here, we were still talking about the last video I had made, which was like over a year old at that point. So yeah, I made a Sonic video and then I dipped out, and now I'm back and I'm trying to make videos again. So I'm gonna hopefully have 5 done by the end of the year. So
Oh my god.
which isn't which isn't a lot, obviously for most YouTubers, but it's a lot for me. So so that's the goal.
Well, I mean, you're not your channel. It's not like a brand or an enterprise or anything like that. It's much more personal, where it's just one guy doing stuff. So the fact that you're doing 5 of these like really tightly edited, scripted videos in a year, that's pretty damn good. Five is a lot. Like I know how tough it is to edit and script even just something that's less than 10 minutes. Like it does take a lot to do it. Like,
You made that big Final Fantasy video, which was great.
oh, thank you. Oh, that was, oh my god. That was
I was
a
gonna say I can't imagine how long that took.
that was a 7-month project.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's because I got like burned out somewhere kind of in the middle, and then I had to just pull myself out and be like, you have to get this done. Like, you have to. You've publicly announced this. You have to. It's like, oh, all right. But yeah, but
it was great.
I know how tough it is even to script and edit a 10-minute, less than 10-minute video. So I just want to say that Bochi video is awesome. So I was very pleased with how that turned out when you finally sent me the final edit of it.
No, thank I really appreciate it. Like all my videos, the big thing I can always ask for is just feedback because I make these videos obviously mostly for me, but then I want
Hmm.
people to say, "Hey, are you crazy, Ian?" And then if people tell me I'm not crazy, then it feels good.
You're
So
not
no, I'm
crazy.
really happy with how they come out. So yeah,
Good.
and thanks for having me on your channel to talk about something really cool. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, it's same here, man. So Little Astrobot. Um, how do I want to start this? So I guess beyond me going on incessantly going on and on and on about Astrobot, had you ever heard of Astrobot before my like incessant ramblings about it?
No, it was mostly just you.
Okay.
I mean, maybe someone had mentioned it offhandedly, but you were the one who was like championing it and keeping it like in my head of like, I have a PS5 finally. I should probably play that at some point. And
Yeah.
then once the big game finally came out, I was like, all right, it's time.
But this was so I guess just to explain my own history with Astrobot, just for anyone, if this is the first video they found on the channel from mine. Astrobot, I knew about it from the PS4 days because Astrobot for a long time was a series where it was almost like the series that PlayStation would bring out in order to sell a new peripheral, because you had a little Astro experience with I think it was the PlayStation camera that came with the PS4, and then they did Rescue Mission for the VR, which is great, by the way. And this is coming from somebody who I love VR as a concept, but my body does not.
Hmm.
So for me to say that Astro Bot Rescue Mission is a great VR game, that means a lot coming from me. And it's almost like it's a lot of it is the hmm, I would say that Rescue Mission is kind of the seed that sprouted what Astrobot eventually became. Where I think Astro Rescue Mission was the one where a lot of people finally realized, oh, this series has something. And from what I understand, it sold pretty well on the VR. I think it sold over 1 million copies on the original PlayStation VR, which is big for a non PC VR game. So Astrobot had his little legs had some strength with that VR game. So then they finally, in order to sell you on the PS5 and the what the DualSense controller was capable of, they had the pack-in game, which was Astro's Playroom, which is, in my opinion, probably the best packing game ever made. It's an amazing little bite-sized experience that is free. I don't think I would ever say you need to buy a PS5 to play Astro's Playroom, but until Astrobot, it was by far my favorite PlayStation game on the PS5, like easily. Like nothing else even came close throughout this whole generation. And now we finally have, cut to almost 4 years later, and we have Astrobot, which is the first full-on, non-gimmicky, non-peripheral based Astrobot game that is, like a good 15 to 20 hour experience if you're doing everything in the game.
Yeah, it's like a real game.
It's a real game. And um yeah, so it's man, I the thing with me is that I have a very easy time saying what I don't like about something, but when it's something that I adore, it's almost like I start stuttering because there's just I don't know where to start. And because I think Astrobot, I guess I'll put it like this in the beginning, is that I think Astrobot is a very smartly designed game. And it was made by a team of people who very clearly have a lot of passion for the craft of making video games. And I mean, you can just see and feel that love and passion in every single facet of Astrobot. And I think it's very rare that we get games like this with this kind of polish, with this kind of budget, that is just dedicated to the experience of having a fun time. Because a lot of games a lot of like non-Nintendo games that get this kind of polish, that get this kind of budget, a lot of them try to be like dark and serious and like, oh, it's about the meaning of life and death and fatherhood, and like this is a game that is all about the joy of sitting in front of your TV with a controller and just getting lost in something. It's almost like the past has been brought back to life for me playing this game. Where this is one of those games, I know it's a cliche to say, like, oh, it made me feel like a child again, especially in this era of nostalgia exploitation by a lot of just big companies out there that just their whole bread and butter is just, you remember this? You remember this? You remember this? And they just keep poking that nostalgia little thing in your brain that it works in a lot of cases, but I get annoyed with it personally because they just don't do anything new. But this is one of the rare things that I play that, technically speaking, is a giant advertisement for PlayStation, but it comes across as just so non-cynical and lovely and wholesome, and I love it. I'll stop talking now so you can get your words in. Yeah.
No, you're good. I loved hearing it. Yeah, no. So for me, the word that kept coming into my head during like Playroom and especially Astrobot is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game, or both games. They feel like they are flexing on you, because like you have the first game, right, which is one giant, like you said, one giant PlayStation ad, and the second one is too, or like the Astro Bot. But
Sure.
obviously, the Playroom is especially like we love PlayStation. Everything is about PlayStation. PlayStation 5. Here's your PlayStation. Um, but like, and like even like in the room when you get all the different pieces of like the PlayStation iconography and like the peripherals, like the little Astrobots are like hugging like the PlayStation 2 and kissing it and like having
Yeah.
heart emojis. Like if you looked at this in any other context, it would be like the most cynical, like just like almost like dystopian looking thing ever. Like, oh yeah, we made like mascots to praise us ourselves. Hooray! They
Hmm.
love the PlayStation 3. They love the shitty peripherals that we made and nobody bought. But like the reason it works is because to me, like I think what like you could throw out that Astrobot is very sincere. It's very, and I believe all those things. I think all those things are true. You can tell that this is coming from people who love video games. But I think like what it brings back is the idea of like the thing you often feel with Nintendo is like they're serious about making like a good product, but like in
Yes.
the best way possible. Of like you show up and you go, all right, what do you have for me? And they go, we have meticulously crafted the most fun time you're ever going to have. And it doesn't like nothing about the game feels like stream of consciousness or like you play a game and you're like, oh man, you can just feel like when you play like Kingdom Hearts, the joy that that gives me feels like Tetsuya Nomura just like throwing out whatever ideas he has and then like the skill of the developers bringing that to life or whatever, like at Kingdom Hearts at its best. Astrobot feels like they were tasked with a goal to like make a game that is going to like hype up PlayStation, and they were like, and we're going to make it a damn good game, and you just sit there and you're just like, oh my gosh, you guys are great at what you do. You are immaculate at what you do. You're just having so much fun that you are willing to buy into it. You're willing to buy into like, yeah, I'm safe. Like we have whole levels where it's like, look, guys, it's like modern day Kratos, and you're gonna go around with like his little axe or whatever, and it doesn't feel cynical at all. It just feels like, yeah, what are you going to complain about it? You're going to have fun. It's like, of course I'm not going to complain about it. This is going to be amazing. So so it's just a game that just has so much confidence, so much conviction in what it's doing. Of just, I'm going to give you a good time. This is what you paid for. What you paid money for this, and I'm going to give you a good time. That's what I kept feeling the whole time.
And I assume there are people out there that don't like Astrobot, which I don't
Of
understand
course.
that at all, but okay. Even then you have to respect the clear talent and ambition that is on display in from Team Asobi and Astrobot. Because I feel like they very easily could have just played the same hits as Astro's Playroom, where they just go, oh, we're just going to have you exploring the inside of the PS5 yet again. We're going to have you go and collect coins, and you'll get another mural where you have to find puzzle pieces and all that. And it's like, it has elements. It absolutely has elements of Astro's Playroom in it. It has elements of all the past Team Asobi games in there. There's elements of Rescue Mission. There's elements of the Playroom from like way back in the day. There's obviously elements from Astro's Playroom, but it's a game that it's almost like they set a challenge for themselves where they just said, how can we make each level as varied and jam-packed as humanly possible? And I feel like for the most part, I think one of my minor criticisms that I have of the game is that maybe it has one too many levels that repeat a little bit, or at least as far as theme goes. But that's a very minor complaint, because I was astounded by the variety that's on display here, and just the creativity as far as the kind of levels they were able to make, what kind of gameplay gimmicks they were able to put into them, how well they interacted with the environment in these set levels, and also just visually how different so much of it is, and how in certain levels they're able to craft little like micro narratives in them, where I think the thing too that I love about Astrobot is that it's a very humanistic game, where it's all about helping people. It's all about making people smile, getting people out of bad situations. And you could apply that to a lot of different games where it's all about helping people. But in Astrobot, especially with some of these levels, like the level where you rescue the big giant, or you help the tree out, or you're making the volcano feel better, from having a fever. It's all
Yeah.
about going out there and just helping people and making these worlds, these tiny little worlds that you'll never see again beyond this level, just that much better. And I feel like through your actions, the game rewards you for being altruistic in these worlds through like sensory experiences, visual experiences, jokes, music, and it all comes together in just this beautiful package that just it's like probably it's one of the more like heartwarming games I've played in a long time. And it doesn't have any kind of deep narrative about family or life or anything like that. Astrobot doesn't say a word, and yet he's one of the most compelling characters in recent memory as far as PlayStation goes. He's just this like cute little robot, but they found a way for me to like at the very end to feel like, well, okay, from here on out, spoilers. Here we go. Here's like if you haven't turned back yet, here you go. This is your last chance. So when they have that bit at the end where Astrobot dies in quotes, where he has like the Disney death where he sacrifices himself, I was genuinely like sad, even though I knew that I'm like, nah, he's not dead. He'll be fine. I still have some fucking bots I need to go collect. He's not dead. But just in that moment of seeing him like sacrifice himself, and then where you have to rebuild his body, where the climax of that mechanic of you helping, again, the altruistic helping people out, where you take the various parts of the PlayStation 5. I cared more about the various mechanics of, or the parts of the PlayStation 5 than any of the characters in like Rise of the Ronin or Stellar Blade or any of these other like multi-million-dollar big expensive games that PlayStation has put out. I cared more about a literal SSD than I cared more about any of the characters in Rise of the Ronin. That sounds insane, but it's the truth with this. And the whole climax of helping those parts is that you get to then rebuild little Astro himself. And I even said that, like, when I was playing it, I went, oh my god, are they going to have it where you're going to have to put his little heart back in? And then right when I said that, somebody like threw the little heart, and you had put the little heart back into the little Astrobot, and he comes back to life. And it's like, oh, it's so wonderful. I love this game so much. So
Yeah, no, I mean, just it's just oozing charm and just lovability. I mean, to me, the thing that stood out was just like I played the first level, and just the way it looked with like the peacocks, and then it's also like it's like a little aquarium almost, and then you get to the top.
Yep.
Like you said, every level has like a little story it's telling. But just like the people have made jokes about like, oh, it's like Galaxy 3. And I think that is very apt because one of the big things, obviously, with the Galaxy games is they're on the Wii, and so you have the motion controls, and it's just so wonderful. Like this was in Playroom as well, but just like you're just running around in these worlds, and you can feel and hear every footstep through your controller,
Yep.
or if it's raining, like you can feel the rain on your hands. You can feel all the beats or whatever. So like just basically just like existing in this game is a joy. The way Astro, like his top speed is really really good. The way he jumps, like, again, just everything is crafted to be as like satisfying as possible. But like what makes it even more crazy is that they give you like, was there like 10 different power-ups in this game? There's a lot. Like
There's a lot,
way
yeah.
more than I thought there'd be. And like and some levels will just have one just for that level.
Yep.
But there's so much stuff to do that by the end you never feel like, oh man, well we never use that one again. It's like, no, like you spent like so much time in these levels, like going through all the different special areas and finding all your guys. And then they even have the guts to be like, oh, for your final special level where we celebrate you for playing the game, we're gonna have another power up just for that level that
Yep.
you have to use. And so like even to the very end when they're doing their victory lap, they're still saying like, but you still gotta play, you still gotta engage, you still gotta earn the fun, you still gotta collect your guys, you still gotta find the puzzle pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like, but what was crazy is that there is not a single power up that I don't like, and not even just like, oh, there's a power up who they're all there's great ones and there's good ones. I thought they were all great. Every single one, I felt like they got something out of it. Even something as simple as just like a time slowdown mechanic.
Oh, that's so
The
cool.
the
Oh,
feedback you get from using it because you would think like, oh, it's going to be like to slow down some things going on in the background and you
Hmm.
can climb on those. Yeah, and that's true. But then they also have like enemies where like the enemies will throw cards, and then you feel like a badass when you go, oh, here we go, it's going to go, and then click, and then it gives the feedback to you, and then you can climb up the cards and hit the enemy, and just so many like little tiny just dopamine rushes basically of the like it's like the game's consistently giving you candy, and it's all unique candy, and
Hmm.
it just tastes so good. But just every single level had something like that that brought it to life, whether it was visual or it was a mechanic, just something as simple as like he turns into a ball, and then it's like, oh wait, can I jump on this little volcano guy? Oh yes, I can. I can turn into the ball and go inside him, and then he explodes, and you feel the explosion. Or like just things like, oh, there's these little enemies, and it's like, oh, do I just hit this enemy like usual? No, you actually have to charge up your spin attack, and then that unwinds it because it's like a bolt that's screwed in, and so it unwinds the little guy, and then he explodes, and then you got to fight
Yeah,
other guys. So like you just feel like you're constantly doing something creative and fun and engaging. There are like levels that because there's like the main boss for every world you go to,
sure.
but then there's just like mini bosses that are in certain levels. And this is what I mean when I say the game is confident. The game is so confident that you die in one hit in this game, um, and it only ever gives you multiple hits on the final like world bosses because they go for so long, so you're bound to screw up. But for these just stage bosses, they give you one hit point because they are so fucking confident in their like game feel that they know you can beat it in one hit, and it, or in one yeah with one hit, and it's great. You feel so cool that you can fight these giant bosses that have multi layers to them with one hit point, and if you die you have to redo all of it, and it feels like it was your fault every time. It's incredible.
I want to zero in on the because I actually have one of my notes that says some of the best mechanics are used only once. Like some of them, I was shocked that we never got another level dedicated to them because they're so good. Like some of my favorite ones, like the mouse might be my favorite mechanic in the game, especially because of that level. It's so that is probably that might be my favorite level in the game. It's definitely up there. But I was surprised that we never got a level again around the mounts. We never get another level around the sponge ability. We never get another level around the dolphin, as far as I remember. I mean, some
Yeah,
of
and even then, those levels are so huge, they take so
yeah,
long that you're like, oh wow, that almost felt like a whole galaxy if it were like Mario Galaxy of like, even though it's one stage, because there's so many different like secret routes and like other paths and stuff, and you're always like looping around. It's
hmm
wonderful.
dude, that
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
dolphin. No, no, oh, you're good. That dolphin level. When I was just screwing around with it with the dolphin, just doing testing it out to see what are the limits of that ability, and I kept going through the level, and I was like, where are the bots? Where are the puzzle pieces? Did
Yeah,
I did
and
I
then
miss something? Where are they?
yeah, and then you get a giant open area,
Oh yeah,
and it's so fun.
it's beautiful. And then it plays that gorgeous like Donkey Kong country-esque music. And then you get to do the cute little thing where you charge it up and fly through the hoops, and you get like a little trophy for doing that. And then you get to go to like charge up your little penguin or your little dolphin that you have on your back and just fly up into the air to access, on the land higher points of entry. And that level is just terrific. That's definitely that's one of my favorites as well. But
One thing the game rewards you for consistently is like, so the mouse level, there's parts in it where you go, okay, obviously I have to shrink down and do this platforming
mhm.
section. But then
Yes.
when I went back to explore the level, I went, well, wait a second. Because everything is so free flowing, like there's never a point where you're using an ability and the game just like stops. Even the one where it's like you're sucking up like cement or like honey sap or whatever, there's a
Yes.
little animation where he like crouches down, but he's still moving forward. So you're always moving. So my thought process was, I was like, well, wait a sec. Do I have to do this little platforming challenge? Can't I just jump, turn into the mouse, and oh my gosh, I
Yep.
can.
It does
So
it.
like because I understood like, oh, I could just jump up here. I turned into the mouse and I just skipped the entire platforming section, and I didn't have to do it again. Because you would think with the mouse thing, it'd be like, oh, they created these specific platforming sections, so if you go back, you're gonna have to redo it all over again. No, if you're just smart, the game just lets you go past it because it believes in you, and it's great.
One little detail I love about that mouse level is I feel like they really push the boat out on thinking like what could you do as a mouse in this level. And I love that it lets you do things like climb on top of the wall ornaments. It lets you go underneath a bed. It lets you crawl underneath
You ride a
covers.
bubble.
And then it lets you go into a cage that you see a little bot in. And then if you blow up into your normal size, it breaks the cage. And that's how you get the
Explodes.
bot out. You get to ride on top of bubbles. You get to jump on a tree and rescue a bot from a bird's nest. It really just, it pushes the boat out on just for that one power up, all the different little mechanics and just little like just the variety of different things that you're able to do with just that one single mechanic that they do. And again, they never use it again beyond that level, which was shocking because that level was so fantastic. And I thought clearly they're
Probably because it was so hard to make.
probably clearly they're gonna at least gonna have one more. No, they don't even have one more of that level. It's just that
Yeah.
single one, and that's what makes it so special. It's the only one. I could play a whole game about this probably. If you made like a 7 to 8 hour game with just this mechanic and fleshed it out even further, I have no doubt that it would be great if you were able to do that.
Well, and anytime though, anytime it was like, oh, it's the dog. I was never like, oh, it's the dog power up. I was like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do with the dog power up
Mhm.
again? Or like anytime it was like the chicken, I was like, oh, what are we gonna do with this? Because they're always trying to give you feedback through the PlayStation controller. So like they just always create like really satisfying things that you can just smash or like break or open or whatever.
Yes.
And it's just always the game is always satisfying in a new way. Or it's taking something that's old and like using it in a creative way. One of the things I wanted to point out about the game that I think also makes it just such a joy is that anytime you think like, huh, there's a tree here. If I climb onto the tree, is there anything up there? And you look up there and you go, oh, there's nothing up there. But you know what? I'm having fun with Astro, so I'm going to climb around. And this is what the game does. And I don't know too many other games that do this where this happens. So you would see like a star up there or you'd see a coin and you go, how can I get that coin? This game constantly will go, you're just walking around and you go, man, can I get on that tree? You get on the tree, and only when you get up there does it actually reveal, we were watching you. Here's a coin. Here you go. You're welcome. Or like you'll be running around and you'll go, huh, there's like dolphins playing with a hoop and they're running through that. That looks really fun. Oh, I wonder if I could jump through the hoop. You jump through the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we actually wanted you to do that. Here's a coin. And then like the biggest one to me was I was wandering around and I was like, man, that robot up there looks so cool. It was like a inflatable robot or whatever. I was like, can I get on his like head or whatever? And I was like, oh, can I do that? And I went around and I got up there and I was like, hey, we expected you to do that. Here you go. Here's a secret coin that you didn't know. You didn't know this was here. You wanted to climb up here just because it would be fun, and we're going to reward you for it. And it does it every level constantly.
Yes.
So like not only are you like getting invested in the levels because of the challenges they tell you to do, but anytime you go like, man, that's a beautiful beach over there, or oh man, like there's like this little patio. Most games you would go over there and there would just be something there, or maybe you'd go over there and it's just that they just put it into the level, but you're not supposed to get anything out of it. This game consistently is like, just because you took value in how pretty our game was and you wanted to see it up close, we're going to give you a reward for that. And it feels good every time.
My favorite one of that kind of scenario is in the big deep sea ocean level, where when I was just fucking around with the dolphin in the beginning, and I saw that there was this big wire that was stretched across the one side of the rock to another in one of the big open water areas, and I looked and there were these birds hanging out on top of it, and I went, I wonder if I could charge my ability up enough to get on top of that rope and just see what happens. I wonder if there's like a bot up here or a puzzle piece. And I jumped up there and I managed to get up there, and the whole row, all of a sudden, like all the birds started leaving one by one, and it was just the whole row of wire was just coins. And I went,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
so they knew some people would try to get up here. And the thing is, they constantly make just exploring the game rewarding, even if you can't see the rewards. Just they reward the joy of exploring.
Yeah.
And I think
I've not really seen a game like that.
no, there
Long
aren't
time.
many. I can't really think of many non-Nintendo games that do that. And again, we keep bringing up Nintendo, but it's like this is the rare one that I feel like actually gets it. They get that spirit of play and of fun like a lot of the best
Yeah.
Nintendo games too. Where I know you sent me the Super Mario Galaxy 3 meme, but this really does feel like the Super Mario Galaxy 3 that we never got, because and it has that same kind of sense of fun and pleasure and little moments of joy that these games love to do. These quieter moments, these moments where it's fun to just sit back and watch the world just kind of do its thing. Because even just watching the game without interacting with it, you notice like all these different little things that are so cool about the world. There's so many little details about it. And again, I can't think of any other company that puts this kind of attention to detail in a 3D platformer other than Nintendo. I mean, or at least not since like ages ago. And I think this is the thing with Astro Bot too, is that, you know, I'm not normally impressed with a game's high level of fidelity anymore. Like it just doesn't. It's like, all right, well, I don't care if this character grows facial hair in real time or whatever. That doesn't really make the game more fun. But this is the rare game that I feel like gets the both the art direction and the raw graphical detail just right. Where it's a gorgeous looking game just to look at it, and then you look at the art direction and the color composition and everything, and it's so just pleasing to the eye to look at. Like you mentioned the Sky Guard in the beginning, when you see the birds flying in, when Astro is like, you know, first coming into the level on the DualSense glider, and the birds just synchronize with his flight, and then you get to watch the birds fly in the background on the level as well, and it's just the trees pop with this beautiful shade of bright green, and then you have the beautiful purple and pink flower petal or leaf petals that are in the water, and it's just such a beautiful game just to even look at. I mean, forget just even walking through it and doing the mechanics, just looking at it, it's amazing. And we don't get platformers with this kind of level of detail, like, ever, because they don't make platformers like this anymore. So it's cool to see something that comes out that is this good mechanically, that's this good from a tangible sensory experience with the DualSense, and then to also take it a step further and use the current capabilities of the tech that we have to make something that looks this good and runs at like I think almost flawless 60 frames. I think like outside of one minor little hitch that I noticed in the frame rate, it's like flawless. The presentation is borderline flawless in this game,
and the music's a banger.
oh my god. I have a whole list dedicated to the songs that I love in this game.
Just to build off that real quick, not to go fully into music because I have one more example, but like the first level, like, is probably my favorite song in the game because it just has like this. It's like whimsical, like dun 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 dun. It's doing that for a little bit, and then there's just like a little rapper man will come and go, you know what I mean, and then it just goes right into it. I'm like, yeah, it sounds so good.
That's the musical identity of Astrobot too. Is that I think Astrobot has had enough games where it's established its own kind of identity, and I think this call and response, like the voice modulators with the little Astro voice in there. That's kind of how you know that it's an Astrobot game, where you have the little like robot voice mixed with the, like, a hip hop influence in there, and there's other tracks in there that have a different feel to it. But that, I think, is that's the spirit of Astrobot, where from the music,
the rapping giant tree.
Yeah. I could go on and on about just that one. That might be my favorite level in the game, actually. But I'll get to that one in a bit. But so one of the common complaints with this game that some people have had is that it reuses a lot of elements of like Rescue Mission, Playroom, and there's a lot of music from Astro's Playroom and Rescue Mission in this game. But I don't think that's a bad thing at all, considering that a lot of people did not play Rescue Mission because it's a VR game. So you're getting exposed to this music for the first time, and the music is awesome from Rescue Mission. So it's like, why wouldn't you
might as well
use
still use it?
You might as well.
Yeah.
And it works really well for a lot of these levels, like the Aztec Trail, the jungle one in the first world, where you get the spring, like another one of my favorite power-ups, the springy boxing gloves that you get. Yes. And I love that. I love that theme that plays, but that's a theme that's from Rescue Mission, but they found a way to take it, and it sounds so natural to that jungle world where it's and then they have the little, again, the little robot vocator go like, oh yeah, and it just,
Yeah.
oh, it's so good. The music in this game is fantastic.
Yeah, no, again, the game just exudes joy, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's no, it's super fun in that sense. And then also on top of all that, so you have all this stuff of like it's just a great platformer. It's got gorgeous visuals, and also, if you slightly care, it's also a PlayStation celebration.
It's like the least cynical like hagiography I've ever seen in like any kind of entertainment, probably outside of Kingdom Hearts. It's probably like the most like non-cynical self-congratulatory thing I've ever seen.
The thing that makes it, I think what makes it not come off as like cynical or how do you want to put it, like self-congratulatory or
Right.
whatever, is, and it's a very small thing because it's a very specific thing. It's not like a spirit of it or whatever, which I'm sure there's a uniqueness to that too that we discussed, but it's that they, so if you get, the Jack Astrobot guy, and in the universe of Astrobot, it's just Astrobot like robots, and they're just dressed as these characters,
Yes.
for the most part. I think like Spyro is actually there.
That
Like
was
that's
the
not like an
one
Astrobot.
weird, like just seeing Spyro. I'm like, oh,
Well,
okay.
there's a few animals. So
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like all the animals seem to be like just them, because there's like him. There's like the griffin from like The Last Guardian. There's like the little robot dog that you can buy like back in the day. So like pretty much any of like the animal, like fully animal characters are like just there, which is I think like a fun little twist on it. But anyway, the thing that makes it really stand out is that if you get like Jack and Daxter, right, and you pull up, because they have a little thing of like, oh, here's all the characters, right? It does not say Jack and Daxter. It says an elf and his buddy. That's the name of Jack and Daxter. If you do not know who Jack and Daxter are, the game will never tell you. And I think that's what makes it feel like not cynical, is that it expects you to love these characters and look at like their little funny descriptions, because there's like a lot of like really funny like descriptions for the characters that often like play into like silly tropes about them. Like there's one for the Beyond Two Souls main character girl, and it says like has a not so imaginary friend. And it's like if you know that character and you know like the horrible like tragedy she goes through and like this idea of like her dual spirit and stuff, like you hear that and you laugh. You think that's super funny, you know? Or like if you get like Crash Bandicoot, it doesn't say this is Crash Bandicoot. It says not to be mistaken for a naughty dog. So the game is just,
Yes.
it does not hold your hand and say like, look guys, look at all these amazing characters that you should remember, and look at this is what the game they're from or whatever. No, it expects you to know. And then if you know, it gives you a silly thing. And if you don't know, like I was having so much fun just being like, I have no clue who this character is. But like if you hit them, then they had to do like a funny little animation and just be kind of wondering like, who are they from? And then that made me go online and have to look into it, and try
Mhm.
to figure out like where are these characters from. And so like it feels like it invites you to love PlayStation rather than telling you like, look at all our cool shit, right? And this was what made Playroom so good, is that like I think it did the same thing with like the little devices you would find. Is I think it would give it like its real name, but then it would like give it a goofy description, like that would invite you to like laugh with them of like, look at these goofy things, or like look at this cool technology, or whatever. And so that I think that's what gives the game just so much like joy and not like just zero cynicism to it. It's just like, yeah, let's have fun. And we're not going to hold your hand and like force you to love this. We expect that you already do. So yeah.
And even myself, who is fairly knowledgeable as far as PlayStation's history, even I looked at some of these cameos and I went, I have no idea what this is. And I
Yeah.
had to go, because some of the most obscure things they have as bots in this game, like
Yeah.
the chef. At first I thought that was like an Overcooked reference or something, and apparently I looked into it, and that chef that's one of the bots is from a Japanese only PlayStation game where you're a chef. And I went, oh, okay. I had no idea that even existed, but it's also a cool means of being almost like a history lesson for people who actually
Yeah.
want to dig deeper into PlayStation's like their history and all. And it's I think the cool thing about it too is that if it was in less capable hands, I think it would have run the risk of kind of like like pouring salt in the wound, because a lot of these franchises they just don't bother with anymore, or they were like critical or financial failures that that PlayStation just kind of wants to sweep under the rug or not really acknowledge. But they're here and they're presented in a way that comes off as reverence more so
Yeah.
than like bringing the dead back to life, to have them dance around like a puppet, right? It feels much more like an interactive museum than a fucking graveyard.
Well,
If
again,
that makes any sense.
if it had actually said like, "Here's Jack and Daxter," I think it would have been like, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, it kind of is, but I mean, it's not really him. Like that's a bot with that's literally a bot wearing his skin.
Yes.
But that's not what they call him. They give him a goofy little name and a goofy little thing, goofy little thing. And like the idea is that like the bots are like embodying the spirits of these characters, which means we are not going to actually call them Jack and Daxter. We
Sure.
are not actually going to call them Ratchet. I mean, Ratchet still good stuff. We're not going to actually call it like Sly Cooper or Crash or Spyro. No, these are they embody the spirits of the characters. I think that's kind of what I'm realizing. Like the bots are for is which I mean I think is even more magical because they're robots. They should be soulless, right? And yet and yet it doesn't come across that way at all. Um, my favorite reference has to be the origami killer from Heavy Rain. Do you know what
Yes.
this is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, getting the freaking origami bird, and I was looking around. I was like, "Where is like like who are they going to attach it to from Heavy Rain?" And they don't. The bird is just sitting there,
Yep.
which I think makes it even funnier. That means that like the origami killer is somewhere around here, and we're just not allowed to know.
I love in Playroom the reference to Heavy Rain when you're in the, I think it's Memory Meadow, where it's the level where you get to experience like rain and hail, and then you see a little like bot with the origami on its chest, and it's just lying there pretending to be dead. I love that. That was one of my favorite references in Playroom. So I was happy to see that Heavy Rain was mentioned again, but it's just the bird this time around, the origami. And I thought that was so funny because there's some franchises that I was really surprised that they actually like bothered to involve them, because it's like, well, you can't really make a bot out of these. Like Spyro, for instance, it's this Spyro the Dragon is there, and that's a whole nother mess of legal cobwebs that they have to do with Spyro. But or something like Okami is there, which I was shocked when I
Okami's
saw
there,
Okami.
yeah,
That was one of the,
and it's just him.
yeah, that was one of the, that was one of the bot, or not bots, that was one of the cameos that I went, no way, I can't believe like Capcom actually okayed. I understand Capcom okay, like Resident Evil or Street Fighter or something, or Monster Hunter or something like that, but to see Okami just sitting there, and it's like, it's not a bot dressed as her or anything, she's just there. And I went, oh my god, like, wow, like I can't believe they're actually, it's so much of this game for me, and again, like in less capable hands it would be so irritating, but the whole time I was like that meme or the gif of Leonardo DiCaprio where he's like snapping his fingers and pointing at the TV, and he's like, I know what that is, I recognize that. And that was me like constantly during this game. But again, it never came across as annoying or just like self-congratulatory nonsense. It was just, it felt like it came from a place of genuine admiration and love for this history and these characters. And that to me just shines in every aspect of this element of the game. And again, I think it's baked into the DNA of this game, but I have a feeling if you could somehow take away all the PlayStation stuff, the iconography, I think you would still end up with a really great platformer. It's just this PlayStation stuff is kind of like the icing on the cake with this whole thing. And I think
Yeah.
one of the most obvious part where they take it the furthest are the levels, which they're not some of the levels they're not among my favorites, but I appreciate them more out of like, they are what they are, like the Ape Escape level, which I was really surprised to see them actually do a full-on little Ape Escape level, because it's like, oh wow, I thought PlayStation forgot they had this. So to see, and the crazy thing too is that for a long time I always said to people, I think Team Asobi would be really good at making an Ape Escape game because they have people from Ape Escape, the original team, working at Team Asobi now. And to see them actually make a little mini Ape Escape level, that was not something I expected at all in this game. And I knew we were getting like the God of War level, and I knew that was coming. I knew the Uncharted level, I knew the Horizon level. That was obvious. Like the whole game I kept waiting, like, all right, where's the Aloy level? I know the Horizon level is coming. They have to.
But then we got the greatest level, which is the Loco Roco level, which is like, who knows what that is.
I couldn't believe I couldn't believe that. I really when that,
and that's one of my favorite levels.
It's
that
great.
Was so fun.
Yeah, it's great. And then, but I just man, I couldn't. Ian, I cannot express, like, I don't the other like look of shock on my face when I saw the little like, you know, creature from Loco Roco, and I was like, what is this? Because I expected that. I think it's after the 4th world is when they have the Loco Roco level, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to be the Aloy one, and then the next one might either be like Ghost of Tsushima or something else, because all I thought was like, okay, they're gonna hit the big ones, they're gonna do all the most well-known stuff from PlayStation, but then to see that little like blurb from Loco Roco, and I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And then I saw the level title, and I just went, are they really seriously about to do a level based on Loco Roco, an old PSP game that, as far as mainstream PlayStation, has like not even a blip on people's radar, but for people who know, that have a deep knowledge and history with PlayStation, who's been there for a long time, this has a very significant meaning to them. And I genuinely can't believe, rather than kind of coercing Team Asobi to go, oh, why don't you take that out and put a different, why don't you make a Last of Us world or a Ghost of Tsushima world or something like that? Why don't you do that instead? No, they looked at that Loco Roco level and went, okay. Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. That's like if they made a Patapon level or something. It's just, oh man. That was one of the biggest surprises of the game for me, just that Loco Roco, and it's a good level. It's not like it's like an okay or good level, and it's kind of elevated by the knowledge, like, oh, I know what Loco Roco is. It's a fun level because, again, they just have that single mechanic in it where you transform from a big blob into like little small ones, and that's how you navigate the level. That's how you find some of the secret puzzle pieces and the bots, and it's like, it's a really well-made level that just happens to be a big tribute to Loco Roco. And again, I never thought I would say this for Astro Bot.
Well, and that's not even to include the fact that when they do the like the obvious ones like Uncharted, the Uncharted level is awesome.
Like, well, that's like an S tier level. That's my favorite one of the hero levels.
I loved it. Like, it was just so good. And like, also, so this is the thing that's even more respectful, is that they make an Astro Bot remix of those games' themes. Yes. So like, there's a Loco Roco Astro, like Loco Roco got new music. Ape Escape got new music, you know, for its franchise. It's awesome.
And then they had enough. They have enough This is the thing too that I love about Astro Bot, is that it has enough of a self-aware sense of humor where it can take the memes of the PlayStation community and find a way to gently incorporate them into the game without coming across as like, how do you do fellow kids energy? Like, for example, the God of War level, the beat, the noise that signals the beat drop in that God of War levels theme is boy. When you hear like Kratos say boy, and then that's when the beat starts to kick in on that music in the level. Or when you find Raiden in one of the challenge levels, his little description, it's Nanomachines, son, which is a big meme from Metal Gear Rising. And it's so funny, and it's a very funny game too. Even if you don't understand these references, it's like, it's so goofy, and it has such a like you said, a confidence in its presentation and style that it's willing to get silly and it's willing to just say and do not say but write goofy things and do goofy things and have like little nods to the memes in the game, and it's all massaged in so naturally that again it's like, oh, of course it's here, and it's done so well. And then also with the something like the Uncharted level is that they got the flow of a normal Uncharted, like a big Uncharted spectacle. They have like they have puzzles within, they're easy puzzles, but they have little puzzles within that singular level that are easily missable. And then they have the whole bit where you're running away, you're getting out of the exploding temple at the very end, like an Uncharted game.
And I think
like,
don't you even like lose the treasure by the end or something?
Yes, you
the treasure explodes. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, Nate can never get the treasure. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's just wonderful.
And then speaking of levels, I want to zero in on what some of our favorite levels are. I mean, we've talked about like the Uncharted level or the Loco Roco level, but what were some of your personal favorites of the game?
I mean, obviously the mouse level. The mouse level is really incredible. I really loved the entire underwater level, just because I just thought it was so, like, anytime you can nail swimming mechanics, like, I'm gonna love it, because it's like, oh, now it's just fun to like manipulate just like an entire 3D space. Any level that used what kind of animal was it? Like in the first, what's the animal they use in the first level where like you're floating around?
Oh, the squid or.
Yes, yeah, the squid one. Anytime they use the squid, I just thought like it was just so satisfying to like inflate and then just like deflate at your own will, and then just like know like, oh, I'm gonna land here, or like, oh, if I'm in water and I inflate, I'm gonna fly out of the water, you know. Like it was just so fun to like manipulate like the physics of that. And there was like a few sky levels they used that for. I really loved the casino level with the time stop ability.
So good,
it's so fucking cool.
I love the song in that level.
Mine.
The song in that casino level is absolutely fantastic. That might be, outside of the tree, which I'll get to in a sec. That might be my favorite new original track in the game. It's just like they use the robot voice, and they have this whole like chorus in the background just going like casino, and then they have the with the saxophone and everything, and it just sounds it sounds like it's such a great song. But then when you actually listen to the lyrics, the whole level is about making this casino look so flashy and exciting, but the lyrics of the song in that level are all about like the dangers of gambling, which is so funny. And it's all about, oh yeah, don't overspend, yeah, don't do any of this, don't do that, oh, Snake Eyes, you lost, sorry. And it's all about that. And then it kind of fits into the theme of that level of you're going into this flashy casino, but it's still like super dangerous because you have to deal with all these like the traps or the electric, the spinning things, and the creatures. And that to me is one of the very best levels in the game. That casino level, it's absolutely fantastic. And then the big one of the big ones for me was the Egyptian level, which I love. That level where you get to be the little iron ball and you roll around in the level, and then finally when you're under those stupid like the crushing things and they can't get you because you're the iron ball, and you feel that like force of them trying to crush you in the controller, and it's so satisfying as like a haha, I got you, you can't kill me. And then when that level probably has my favorite like sensory experience I have ever felt in a video game, where they have the bit at the end where they're all like you have like the waterfall of jewels coming down, and it just has this giant pile of multicolored gems that you can run through and do your little spin attack in. And just that feeling of standing on top or underneath that waterfall of jewels and having the jewels, just you feel it in the controller, and just seeing all the sparkly colors, it's like it's like a sensory overload in the best possible way, with just that little thing that's in the level. And I love too about that Egyptian level is that it's they found a way to include 3 different levels based on like I guess like more
The
like
desert.
Asian, like the desert, like Asian culture where or not Asian as far as Egyptian, but you have like the sand where it's like Egyptian. You have one that's like, kind of like more Indian influence. You have one that's more Arabian influence, and like that's the one that I messaged you on, like the return the genie one, where that opening bit of the genie level. I was like, this is Agrabah. This is like
Yeah, we're in
literally
Agrabah.
Agrabah from Kingdom Hearts, literally.
There's like fun little platforming places to like get up high.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels like KH1 Agrabah.
Yes, specifically KH1, exactly. And I love that there's like a snake charmer that if you get them, you get to jump on top of the things that they're charming, and the music for it is fantastic, and the whole, even the backdrop just looks like the palace from Agrabah. It's like holy shit.
Yeah, well, and then you get a whole platforming stage around basically fighting Genie Jafar.
yeah, basically. And that's one of the more
And
challenging
then
fights in the game too.
yeah, and then even better is at the very end to get to the secret. Like I thought this was so clever. I had to
Oh
look this up
yes.
because I really couldn't figure it out. But I mean, it's so clever. Like it's really smart. Is when you get to the end. So a lot of these levels will have like secret hidden levels where there's like a giant disco ball and you got to grab it and then you can go down and do all that stuff.
Hmm.
And so like you're going through this, right? And you're thinking like, okay, where is this in the start of the level? Because you can see it when you finish the level, because like the world gets destroyed basically, and like now you're at the ruins, and it's like you can go to the finish line, but you see it up there, so you're like, oh, maybe if I go to the start of the level, then like I can get up there. And I was trying to figure it out. I was like, I can't do this, and then you realize, oh wait, there's like this little platform you can get on, and then if you look down, or when you get on the platform, it's like this block, and it's like this like
Hmm.
ancient like technology block where it's like, it's like old ruins or whatever, and when you stand on it, it glows, and then you walk forward and you're like, I'm not standing on anything, so what am I, like, is this a glitch, like what's going on? And then you look down and you see that where broken pieces of this like high-tech castle genie thing has fallen, because all of the enemies are like part robot, which is really cool. Even if they're like animals or whatever, or like a genie, it's like a robot genie, which is really cool. But you look down and you see on the ground where like these little pieces are underground. They light up as you step on them, and then you look around. You're like, oh, there's an invisible platforming challenge at the end of the level that leads me to another world.
Some of those secret levels are so well hidden. That's another element of this game that I love, is that the ability to hide things. I mean, even for somebody like people like us that know platformers very well, that we're kind of able to
Yeah,
spot the tricks where check every corner. If you see a rope, where it tells you to go, it's probably not all it takes you to, like stuff like that. But even for me, I was like, where are some of these things? And it wasn't until I actually went out, and I think my favorite one is probably the bathhouse level where you're the sponge, and where you go and you see that big little, like with the what do you call it, like the shrine above it, and you see the smoke tower with the fire sticking out of it.
and you're like,
Yeah, exactly. It really just encourages your sense of like, can I do this? What is behind this? And 99% of the time, if you see something and it's like, can I do this? The answer is more than likely yes. And again, like when I went up there and you squeeze the water on top of that chimney, you put out the fire, you go in there, there you go. That's the secret level right there. And it's like, holy shit. It's a
the
smart level design for a lot of this.
the one that got me, because it was so clever of them, is so you ride, so when you turn into the mouse, there's a bubble machine, and you have to
Yes,
climb, you have to ride,
it
so
was
you have to ride the
brilliant.
bubble to get to your guy, because there's like a guy in a cage. Now, that this is the trick they do on you, and it's so smart. Is they you do that, you go, okay, I got what I came for, right? I'm supposed to ride the bubble to get up to get my guy, and then I leave. But then I thought, wait a minute, there's a tree here,
Hmm.
and I haven't gotten to the top of the tree. Can I? And then I jump onto the bubble and I keep letting it go up and up and up. And oh my gosh, there's a secret level up here. So just like it's incredible every
Yeah,
time.
I had that exact thought when I saw the tree out of the corner of my eye. I went, can I do this? Is there something up here? And then, of course, that's that's where the secret level is for that. Um,
Yeah, and it's just so
man.
smart because they make you think like, "Oh, you solved the puzzle. You're supposed to ride this bubble,
Mhm.
get your guy." But no, there's another thing above your guy, so it tricks you.
I think what's cool
It's
about
so
it
good.
too. What's cool about it too is that even when worlds use multiple different themes, such as like sand or the spooky mansion, there's always a different mechanic that's tied into them to differentiate them. Like the spooky mansion one, for instance, is that the
Mm,
first one, and like two of them are secret levels. One of them is a normal level that you can find. So the first one that you're able to get is dedicated around taking a flashlight in order to find like little invisible platforms that you can navigate and jump on. And then you get to the second one that's a spooky mansion theme. Because the first one was all about being outside of the mansion, now you get to go inside. And they still have that flashlight mechanic, but because the environment has changed to where now you're the ghosts are kind of fucking with you, and excuse me, then the bit at the end where you bust ghosts with the DualSense controller, I thought that was fun. And then the third one, they do it again where it's the spooky mansion, but this time you're using the time stop mechanic in order to get past the ghosts that are like throwing knives back and forth at each other, or they're spinning the
yeah,
environment
they're always
around.
amping it up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always something different. It's always escalating, and it's just it's amazing. But I think my favorite level in this game, the one that I've hinted at about this entire thing so far, is the Trunk of Funk, which is
Yeah.
this level. Even before you activate the tree, has quite a bit going on in it that you could miss. Like even before you activate the tree, you can go and uncover a little hidden well where there's like coins at the bottom. You can go snuggle up with the cow that has its own unique little animation. You can go hit a golf ball to get a puzzle piece. You can go off into the side and uncover a bot that's hanging out there. It's like four things and it hasn't even gotten to the meat of the level yet. And then when you get to the meat of it where it's this big giant tree that's rapping, and it's this awesome song that just feels like it's almost like an entire story told within a single level. And it was almost the thing that the vibe that I got from it, it was very specific. It reminded me a lot of Splash Mountain at Disneyland, the old one, where it's very much this where it's like a lot of these animals singing in unison. It's very like a like to the beat kind of thing. It's a story where you're being altruistic, you're helping out this tree, and the tree is like rapping about how thankful he is that you're helping him and stuff like that. Or he's saying like you help me, I help you. He's saying all these birds, they're sending birdies after me, please help me. And that power up you get with the elephant, where you get to create again like little platforms of plants, and then you get to it escalates even further where you get to the honey, and then you can
Honey, and now
bounce
you're
on the
bouncing
honey. Yeah, you
around.
can bounce on the honey, and then when you get into the honey, the beehive, the bees start singing along and buzzing with the theme of the level. And then and then they have the whole thing where the sensory experience of running around in the apples, which feels so cool, or the nuts that create the little jingle when you're walking through them, and the leaves as well. It's just that whole level is just that is like it's so inspired, and it's just one
And
level
it's
out of a
long
bunch.
too.
It's long, yeah. And again, it just it's like the best one of the reviews that I watched for this game said that a lot of these levels feel like theater productions where the stage is kind of there for you and they're all putting on this performance for you. And that kind of spirit that I associate a lot with Disneyland as well, with like the rides and the animatronics and everything, that's the vibe that I got from not only the mouse level but the especially the tree level. And then I find it interesting too that the one level with the mouse has music that sounds like something from Main Street at Disneyland, and it's the one time they use that music in the game, and it's the one time they use that mechanic. And I don't find it a coincidence whatsoever that the most Disneyland-ass music in the game has to tie with the level where you're playing as a mouse. That to me is not a coincidence.
No.
They have
awesome.
Disneyland in
good.
Japan. I know that they do. I know what you're doing, Team Asobi. I'm not knocking it. I'm just acknowledging it. But that Trunk of Funk level is like, that was the level I was looking forward to the most too, because I saw that big tree in the trailer, and I went, oh wow, there's a whole level just based on like a giant talking tree, and I went, okay, this will probably be a very fun level, and it exceeded my expectations as to what that level was going to be. I was blown away. That level's amazing.
No, you explained it perfectly, but then I also want to say, like, you finish that level and you're like, wow, I feel like we've done everything we could
Oh, that's right.
with this, like, with that power up.
Yes.
But then later you go to a level where it's ice, and I'm like, what are they going to do for ice? And instead of making like, oh, you make like an ice track that you can go on, no, it makes a slide. So you're consistently making like momentum challenges for yourself. And you have to like basically be like, okay, I want to set up this slide to like get this tie up or whatever. And so like even when you make the platforming and you get three times to use it, so you have to like consistently be making yourself like these little momentum challenges of like when you get to the end you have to jump in time and stuff. So it's like constantly keeping you on your toes. It's so good.
In that particular level too, it gives you 3 different options that you could use to traverse the environment to suck up whatever you want with the elephant. It gives you the option of either the ground, the honey, or the ice. And it's like it's basically just it's like, look, here's the challenge, but we're going to give you options as to how you navigate it. And we're going to tuck away little side things as well that you could or could not get to based on what you choose and your skills.
Yeah.
And that's like guys, like you did not need to go this far for a lot of this. It really is. It's like, it's like a victory lap, like you said. It's like already I'm satisfied. You don't need it. This is really not necessary, but they do it anyway because it's like, look, we have something to prove. Like there is this confidence, but there's also almost like this hunger to top themselves and this hunger to prove to anyone who buys this game. It's like, you are getting your money's worth. We're going to respect the fact that you took a chance on us, and we're going to do our very best to make it the most varied and entertaining experience we possibly can. And it's wonderful. This whole game it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But
well, hey, I got to throw another and, because so you have all the stuff that we talked about, and you have probably some of the best boss fights I've ever played in a platformer. They are so fun, in fact, that they have the same amount of catharsis as when you do a reaction command in a Kingdom Hearts 2 fight.
Yes, they are. They do. Yes,
they are all incredible, especially the big final bosses. The one where you're fighting like the bird, and like it's like shooting at you, and you like have to like break its face and like break all of its like different wings and like fly around and stuff, and like then it's like shooting like a bullet hell at you, and you turn into the ball and you're deflecting all of it. That fight, I was just like, this is just like a Kingdom Hearts 2 fight, but like in a platforming sense, but it has all the catharsis of like hitting that reaction command and then seeing Sora do like this crazy anime thing, only like I'm doing the crazy like anime thing through like platforming means. It's amazing.
In the octopus fight, I that feeling where you finally get it down to its last legs, and then you attach the stretchy arms and you pull yourself back to then like fly into it finally to like knock it back, and it explodes into like a fireworks display. I was like, that is one of the coolest feelings I have ever experienced in a platformer. Just, and again, it's all because of this DualSense stuff. That it's like, if you took it away, and there's no option to turn it off, thankfully. So it's like, I'm sorry, people that don't like this stuff, like, you're stuck with it. It's part of the experience. Like, you take it or
the game
leave
was
it.
made with it in mind.
Yes, it would be like, it would be a worse game without it. But the fact that it's there, and it has that, it's like this totally new dimension to experiencing a video game where you feel it in the palm of your hands, and every little sensation in those boss fights when you feel the punch, you feel punches, you feel knocking into the enemy, you feel hitting their weak points. It brings out such a satisfying sense of like victory, more so than any other platformer I can think of, just because of you it allowing you to feel every hit, every like
to feel every punch.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's really something with those boss fights.
Yeah, and again, I think it's so confident of them that outside of the big fights, that because they just have so many phases, um, uh, they make it to where you only have one hit point
Mhm.
because they expect you to be able to fight these bosses in one go, and you
Yeah.
can do it. Like you feel like you can do it. You feel like when you mess up, like, okay, I know what to do now. Because the controls are so tight. It's so like perfectly just like manageable.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like every little, even like the simplest actions, like punching or jumping, all of it just feels just right, just like finely tuned. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about the hub world, which this is something
All
that I
right.
was not expecting with this game. Like I expected maybe there would be a hub world. It's like, okay, well they're gonna have to find a way to show off all the bots. It's like, okay, there's a hub world. I didn't expect this hub world to be as in depth as it was, and not only that, for it to the little bots that you can command, it's like a Pikmin influence, where depending on how many you have, you can whistle at them, and they go and they create like a bridge that you could climb across, or ropes that you could swing across with their little robot bodies, or they help you pull a big like springy thing to get another puzzle piece in the hub world or something. It's like that's just another thing on top of everything else in this game that is so much fun to explore and to find all the little hidden things and details that are in this hub world. And then the music in the hub world is this like spaghetti western-esque theme, and it's so cool and catchy. And then what I love too is that you can whistle to gather your whole especially when you have all like 305 bots together. You whistle that you get them all in a group, and if you start dancing, they all start dancing along with you. So you can kind of just like
No.
make your own fun with it. Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah. Yeah, try going in when you get like this big group together, hit down on the D-pad to do your little Astro Bot dance, and they'll all start dancing along with you. It's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
cute. And again, they did not need to do this. This was so unnecessary to take it this far with the hub world. But they again, it's like we have something to prove. This is not good enough. We need to take it even further. And then what I was not expecting too is that safari park, which that again, not necessary, but it's just there. It's like here is this park that you get to wander around in. It's not big, but you get to interact with all the little animals, and you get to take pictures and find extra coins in here. It's just here, have fun. And it just lets you wander off in this safari park. It's like, guys, like I was already satisfied. Now I get to run around and hang out with monkeys and try to ride the deer or anything like that, and find all cute little idle animations for the animals and stuff. And it's just like, man, like, wow. Wow, this hub world's fantastic. This is gonna ruin other hub worlds for me. I'm gonna look at it, and then the next game that has a hub world, I'm gonna look at it and be like, I can't gather you guys together and start dancing. This sucks. Like, what is this? I'm gonna go back to
Well, and
Astro
also
Bot.
like they have a great thing of like you collect the different characters from
Mhm.
the levels, and then when you can then unlock like little actions they'll do. So like
Yes.
you and I love that everything in this game is resolved by punching. So you punch the character, and then they will like do a little animation that like represents their game. And it's really really funny. Like my favorite one was the Jack and Daxter one, where it's Jack dies, and then like Daxter like gets on like get up.
It was so funny.
Which
I
is what
love
happens when you die. Like
I
Jack
love the
won.
one for oh god, I love the one for a lot of them. But I love the one for Joker when you punch him and then the card like flies into the air and he's like, oh, 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 and he's just like, it's like a comedy bit where he's trying to desperately grab the Phantom Thief card. Or I love the one for Kiryu where you're punching him and all the shit that are like references to Yakuza games. Like a microphone flies out of his pocket, or a bat, or like other objects that represent either the mini games or the combat options in a Yakuza game. They just fly out of his pocket when you keep hitting them. And even then, like when you punch some of them are more in depth than others, and they have certain trophies tied to them, like the Kiryu one. There's a trophy where if you if you like hit Kratos and you get behind Thor, he'll throw the Leviathan axe in your direction, but it hits Thor instead. And then when he becomes unfrozen, because it's like water, the Mjolnir, his hammer, it will shock him from the like being frozen in ice, and then they'll just go back to their default. But it's like, again, it's like little things that are, there's so many little details in this game that are just amazing, that are just hidden, that again are so unnecessary, but they're just there because it's like, here you go. We're gonna make this game. It's gonna be short. What it lacks in like length and I would say gameplay. I would say gameplay depth, as far as, you know, it doesn't have the full-on maneuverability of some of the Mario games, but what it lacks in those things, it more than makes up for in variety and charm and little details, bite-sized things in there that are amazing. And
it's like it doesn't have a lot of depth, but it's very dense.
Yes, and a lot of that you could just condense to the hub world. I feel like that hub world is very just indicative of the spirit of Astro Bot, of the game itself. And speaking of the hub world, I just want to ask, what were some of your favorite cameos that you saw in the game? Because I have some that were like real deep cuts where I was like, I did not think PlayStation knew they had this. Like, I thought they just threw this in the trash, and it was like, oh, we don't, this doesn't exist. This franchise? No, we don't have this anymore.
Right. Well, I'm kind of a big PlayStation normie, so obviously, like, I just love seeing Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank.
Sure.
I was very happy to see Kat from Gravity Rush, and that you could have a costume with her. That made me very happy. I was upset that I didn't get her costume until like the end of the game. But you know,
no.
Yeah, so it took me forever. But it just felt, I don't know, it felt so like magical to see like the back of Astro Bot and like being in the Jak and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank skin, and being like, if I just like don't pay attention to the proportions, it's like, wow, I'm playing another Jak and Daxter game or Ratchet game, you know. I'm going to like these crazy worlds and doing all this stuff. So no, it was great in all that sense. Obviously the origami killer I thought was hilarious that was in the game.
Yeah.
And then I do love that there's a secret final guy, because there's 300 guys you got to find.
Yes.
And then there's a secret final one, which is Master Onion.
Dude, that wasn't even the hardest challenge in the game, I thought. That one where you have to use the duck to make the lava turn into like the solid ground. That challenge level, like, I wanted to like tear my beard out just playing that challenge level. So the master one, it was tough, but it wasn't as tough as that one. But I love that Master Onion was the final bot. And Richard's a big Parappa fan, so I saw that and I went, oh, he's gonna love this when I saw Master Onion. But
well, and I wanted to say though, just real quick for gameplay things, this whole game just does everything that you want from like a platformer. So for example, you go into these levels and you know that some of the guys you find are going to be like characters, because a lot of them are just like normal bots, right? And so they tell you on your little thing, hey, here are the order everyone was going to appear in. And when you get a guy, it tells you like you got the fourth guy. And so if you look on your little thing and you see the PlayStation icon and you go, oh, I missed a PlayStation guy. Okay, I need to go back, right? So it tells you that. So that's great, because that lets you like engage. It makes it to where like if they were just all like, there's 6 guys here. Well, sure, that could create some anticipation of like, oh, maybe there's a guy here I know. But it's more often than not going to be annoying if you miss a guy and you go, okay, well, I was going to collect everything anyway, but there's also a chance it could be a guy I care about. Oh, it's just a normal bot. Okay, got it. You know? So like the game tells you exactly like you are going to get 4 PlayStation guys, you know, which is cool.
Yeah.
It also has a thing that every platformer should have, like a collectathon anyway, which is that if you go through the level and you realize, oh, I missed one guy or I missed one puzzle piece and it's at the start of the level, okay, I guess I gotta finish the whole level. No. I just grab the piece and I can like not even like I don't even have to wait for anything to load. Grab the piece. It could be mid grabbing it, leave the level. It's saved. There you go. You got the piece.
Yep.
You're welcome.
It's a cool
Incredible.
like quality of life little thing that I love. I also love I never used it, but that bird that you could buy with I think it's 200 coins that you could use to buy that bird. And that means it'll give you a hint as to where certain missing things are. And I love that you don't have to then just you don't have to leave the game to go look it up or anything like that. It's just if you want to stay in the game and not look at the guides on the PlayStation menu or on YouTube or anything like that, it's like, hey, here's 200 coins, here's this bird, here you go. This will help you find the other things. So
it 200 isn't like super easy to come by too. So it's like it feels like you actually had to spend something to get the hint. You know,
it's the right amount. Where 200, it's not too big and it's not too small either, which I appreciate.
Yeah, because I used it a few times where I was like, all right, I can't find this thing, and then I never felt like oh man, like I just wasted coins. Wow. No, it felt like, oh, you know what? I don't think I would have figured that challenge out myself, but by giving me a pointer in the right direction, that really helped. So thank you.
Yeah,
you know,
it's cool. It's cool because it's like here is an in-game solution to where you don't have to break the immersion of leaving the game to go find it. And I think more platformers should have something like that if people want to use a little hint system. And it's not like it's saying like, oh, here it is, here's how you get it. It'll tell you the location of where it is, but how to get it is something else entirely. Like especially if it's a secret level.
It'll just beep at you. It'll just say like beep, 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 and you're like, okay, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
And you know, and a lot of these are like challenges. So like for example, the golf one, I couldn't figure that one out. So it was like beeping at like this weasel that was holding a golf ball, and I was like, oh wait, and then I did it. So like it doesn't like tell you how to do the challenge, you know. Oh, also another thing that these games need to do. So for example, if you go through the level and you don't finish the level, but you find the secret level, the game counts it as if you finished the main level. It goes, you know what? You went out of your way to find the secret level. You also completed that level. Yep. You're good to go. You can go on to another stage if you want. Whereas like most games, it would be like a thing. It's like, okay, well, I know where the secret thing is and it's near the start of the level. But I feel like if I do it, then oftentimes this is the case, you'll do the level and it's like, okay, but now I have to redo the main level. And it's like, you never want to feel that way. So the game rewards you for being creative, finding a secret, and it doesn't punish you. It says, you know what, you did that, so you also passed this level. And which makes me then want to go back to the level and finish it for real. Because I'm like, oh no, you don't. And then I want to do it myself, you know?
I think some of my favorite cameos, like some of the ones I mentioned earlier, like Okami, which I was very surprised to see. Joker from Persona 5, I thought that was awesome. Kiryu from Yakuza, obviously, I thought that was hilarious. One of the ones that I was really surprised to see was fucking Jaster from Rogue Galaxy, which is a PS2 JRPG that, like, it failed horribly for PlayStation, but it's one of the most for me, it's one of the most underappreciated JRPGs from the PS2 era, and it's made by Level 5, which are the team behind like Dark Cloud, Dragon Quest VIII, Ni no Kuni, but they made this JRPG called Rogue Galaxy, which was published by Sony themselves, and it's pretty good. Like, it's really good JRPG, but it's almost like PlayStation never wants to acknowledge its existence. So imagine my shock when I was going through the Agrabah level, and I come across fucking a bot that looks like Jaster, the protagonist from Rogue Galaxy. And I thought, there is no way they included a bot that's from Rogue Galaxy. There's no way. And then when I looked it up, it's like, sure enough, that was their Rogue Galaxy reference. And I thought, holy shit, I couldn't believe it that Jaster was in there. Or something like Legend of Dragoon is in there, like Dart from Legend of Dragoon is in there, which I thought was cool. Kane from Legacy of Kain is in there. Rudy from Wild Arms, which, shit, like, okay, Ark the Lad. There you go. Like the stupid PlayStation executive that's like, oh, we don't have enough IPs. It's like, excuse me, like, hello. It's like the SpongeBob meme where he's like pointing out everything in the room to Patrick. He like opens the window and he points outside and there's this whole pile of shit. It's like, you guys, you have all these IPs. Like, Here you go, little Astro Bot.
Just
It's right here.
just update them. Just
Yeah.
make if you don't think they can be modern successes, make them modern successes.
Yeah.
Like update them for the modern age or whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
Like you have something to build off. You know, don't act like you don't.
Yeah. And dude, this game has done more for Bloodborne than PlayStation has in like almost 10 years, basically. Like those like spooky mansion levels where I ran around. I intentionally avoided those spooky levels until I got the Bloodborne skin, and I went, all right, I'm going in, and I just pretended those were like Bloodborne levels, and I was just playing as the hunter. Or like what is it, when I was eco, and I was going through some of the more like smaller levels, and I went, yep, here we go, I'm eco from eco, here we go. Like PlayStation won't make this available on PS4 or PS5 in an acceptable manner, but here we go, I'm gonna be eco. But
yeah,
I think it's a complaint that has nothing to do with Astro Bot themselves, but the biggest omission, which was shocking, was no Square Enix representation whatsoever. I was
no Sora.
No. I mean, I didn't think Sora would be in it just because of Disney and the whole like legal stuff they would probably have to do with that. Even though PlayStation has a good relationship with Disney. But no Cloud? No 2B from Nier Automata? No Faye from Star Ocean? No Hero from Dragon Quest? No Valkyrie from Valkyrie Profile? Really? Like, really, guys? Like, no Parasite Eve reference? Not.
It's like you know it can't be their fault because there's no way they would, because they put fucking Cloud Sword in Playroom.
Yeah.
So so
it's
like
totally
if it were up to them, they would be there.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, everybody else showed up. It's like a party where everybody else showed up, but you, and like you're one of the most important ones. Like Sega and PlayStation have a very like like PlayStation killed Sega's console, portion of their company. And here's Sega with lots of representation from Sega here. They showed up, and PlayStation killed their console manufacturing division. What's your excuse of not showing up, Square Enix? The company that saved you from getting Final Fantasy VII out the door. It's like, I can't blame because I've seen some people put it as like a con in this game where they're like, oh, it's a 9 out of 10, and one of the cons is no Square Enix representation.
No Square.
Like that's not the game's fault. That's you, and I'm pointing the finger right at Square Enix. Like, that's your fault. Why are you missing out on like the biggest party for PlayStation history? And you're one of the biggest key parts of it, with Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest later on, and of course Kingdom Hearts. Like, there's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. It's unacceptable.
For sure. I have legitimately only one complaint with Astro Bot.
Okay.
And it's one they could just fix with a patch. Which is, I think the costume lineup that you can wear is kind of pathetic.
Okay.
The fact that like the back row is just like, you can be a red panda.
Oh yeah.
You can be a cat. You can be gold. I'm like, guys, I don't know if you know this, but there's like at least 150 skins right outside this room I'm standing in, that I would like to wear. And I don't get it. Like, I like what they did pick. Like the fact that like Cat gets one, or like Jack and Ratchet, or like Wander. Like it feels like there's a good variety. You get to dress as like Ape Escape and like his level or whatever. But like, I think it's kind of like absurd that it's like, oh yeah, this game that's like overflowing with content. It's like, oh yeah, and there's like 20 costumes and like 10 of them are literally like worthless. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
But they could fix that with just like a patch to just be like, all right, there's more costumes now. Here you go.
Sure. I think I'm trying to think, like, did they even give you like an Aloy costume or a Kratos skin? I don't think they do. And those are the two.
You can only do those in their levels.
Right. But it's like the most obvious skins to give the player, but they don't. Which is, they give you like a fucking cow Like you're
Yeah,
no, you can't dress up
exactly.
as
Like
Aloy or Kratos. Here's a cow. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
you just, and it's not even like, because I was looking, I was like, there's no way that these aren't just like characters, but I'm like, no, that's just a fucking cow. That's just a red panda. Like, what is this?
Excuse me, it's
You
the
know?
PlayStation cow. Excuse me, it's a very
Oh, there we
important
go.
character in
Yeah.
some
So
obscure
that
Japanese game.
yeah, so that I thought was kind of ridiculous. But they could just fix it. But like, like obviously I got all the characters. Like the reason it doesn't bother me in my experience is I got all the characters I wanted. I literally
Yeah,
got Wander. I got Jack and Daxter, Ratchet, Cat. That's all I wanted. The only one I wanted was Sora, and that's not their fault, right?
no.
But this one is their fault. I have no idea how it would even slightly be hard to be like, hey, remember all these Astrobots that are literally outside the door? Swap their models. You can wear those now. Like I don't know how that's even slightly hard to implement. So
Yeah, I'm really surprised they didn't include characters like Kratos or Aloy or Celine from
Nathan
Returnal
Drake.
as a skin. Nathan Drake, yeah. I just man, I'm not gonna say they drop the ball on the costumes because there's some really good ones that I love, like the Eco costume. There's the Bloodborne one, obviously. There's the Wanderer. There's Jack, Ratchet. It's like okay, that's most of the ones that I really like. They're here, and it's okay. There's just maybe
Yeah, I
like
think that's the thing. It's like it's the ones we would want, which is good for us.
yeah,
But I think everyone else got fucked.
yeah. The one I know, one of my friends, Maddox, who I talked to, she's gonna be furious when she finds out that you can't dress as Aloy in the Astro Bot game, except that
Yeah.
one level with her.
Well, and it's just like there's no reason you can't when it's literally in the
No,
game. Like it's yeah. So it's like I don't know what happened. I think people have mentioned it to like as like a complaint of like why aren't there more costumes? And so I
yeah,
hope they listen and go, okay, you know what, our bad. Here you go. They're in the shop. Which is again more reason you can go play more levels and then you can come back and buy them and there you go. You're good.
that gold costume is ugly as shit too. I hate that fucking gold costume. I don't know why you can't
Yeah.
swap that
So it's
out
like
for PlayStation One.
yeah, so that one just felt so weird, especially when you have games like A Hat in Time, which has like 100 different costumes you can wear. I'm just like,
Mm.
what? I'm like, Astrobot, you're doing literally everything that I would love, and for some reason, the one area you drop the ball is like, hey, all these cool costumes and ideas we have, you just can't wear them except for like 20. It's
I
like
mean,
what?
yeah, I mean, like look at Super Mario Odyssey as well. Like that costume shop in that game is just flooded with options. Even before they started doing post-launch costume updates, it's like flooded with the amount of costumes you could buy for Mario. And then you get to Astrobot, and there's like, yeah, there's mostly cool ones, but it's like, here's a cow, there's a panda. It's like,
Yeah, it's like it
okay,
shouldn't be that there's mostly cool ones. It should be that literally everyone that's in the game I should be able to wear.
yeah.
Like no excuse. Like just program it in.
I
So
did
so
think
I'm sure they'll fix it in some point.
I think they also missed an opportunity now that I think about it to do more themed skins for the DualSense because a lot of the color, a lot of it's just like color swapping on the DualSense
It's like
controller on the controller.
blue,
Yeah, it's
pink,
just boring.
green. Yeah,
I like the graffiti one. That was cool. I like
yeah,
those
that's the one
neon
I wore.
ones. Those neon ones I think are really nice. There's some that are like accented color ones I think look cool. But then you get to just it's like most of them are just here's yellow, here's blue, here's red. It's like all right. Couldn't you have made one like a limited edition DualSense or like the God, like I have the God of War and Spider-Man DualSenses. Like couldn't you have just made, maybe not the Spider-Man one for legal reasons, but you could have made the God of War one or like a Horizon one or something. I
Yeah, like make those
something.
references as
Yeah.
well.
But the one of the penultimate thing I wanted to get to are just I wanted to list off some of the little details that I found in this game
Hmm.
because I have a whole list that I thought was great. So one of them, I love the little photo ops that you can get. I find that just such a cool little thing. And then when you go and put your head through the cardboard cutout of whatever it is, the environment reacts to you,
Yeah,
and
to
it's like
pose
a
for the picture.
yeah, they pose to the picture. And I think my favorite one is probably the one you get at the beach where it's the I think it's the Go-Go Archipelago where it's the giant enemy crab, where it's the giant crab island that you're on and you have these trees in the background that are shaped like a heart, and then you also have the dolphins flying over it that you can get a snapshot of them as well. I just love shit like that. I think that's so much fun. It's like it really gives you the sense of you're going on an adventure with Astro, and I love that. I love the photo ops
Mm,
in this game. I love that animals all have their own reactions to being hit. Like
mm.
the cow will just be like and kick you, or the deer will just be like man run away. Just this little things like that. In certain levels where there are turtles, if you stand on the turtles, you can start to surf on them, which I thought was cute. If you go into the hub world and hit the Bloodborne hunter, it plays the riposte sound effect from the game, which I thought was great. And going back to the Crab Island, if you're in the Crab Island level, there's a small little alcove at the bottom of one of the giant pillars that you have to jump on, where if you go down there and look, you can see two enemies on a date, which I thought was cute. You can
That's fun.
snuggle with the cow in the Trunk of Funk level, and if you go to that cow in the cow skin, it'll do an extra little like moo for you. Astro has a lot of hidden idle animations, especially for when you have the power ups. Like one of the ones that I love is when you have like the squid octopus thing. If you just stand there, it'll start to tickle you. Or when you have the monkeys with the cymbals, it'll actually start making a beat with Astrobot, where Astrobot will start like tapping on the cymbals and to make a beat, and he's just standing
Okay.
there. I think that's great. And then the final one I have on my list is if you hit Snake, the Metal Gear Solid 1 Snake in the hub world, and because he has this magazine that he's reading, and if you hit him and pause and zoom in on the magazine using the photo mode, you'll see a bot on one of the magazine pages dressed as a Playboy bunny.
Yeah, I did see that
I thought
one.
that was funny as hell. So, but those are like some of the details that I noticed that I love. There's like tons more that I'm sure that are hidden, but again, that just speaks to how much like not like gameplay depth, but content depth is in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, the biggest thing about Astro is just it just feels good to exist in this world.
Yes, exactly. That's one thing I wanted to say. Thank you. I forgot to write this down. Is that I love just existing in these levels. I love just standing there and listening to the world and just kind of watch it go by. And even though I know somewhere in the back of my mind that these levels they don't have any kind of like dynamic day night cycles, or characters don't have their own set schedules or anything like that, they do such a great job at selling me on the illusion that these are living breathing places. And
Yeah,
I love just taking these worlds all in, just both from like listening to the music, seeing visuals, catching little details in the environment. And it's so cool. They're just so, whoever the art team is on this game, give these people raises, give these people bonuses, salary bumps, like all that shit. They did like the exact opposite job of something like the Concord art team. They just knocked it out of the park with this art design in this game.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before I let you go is I wanted to talk about the potential future of this IP, because I think I think it's an important question to ask, is can this IP work in the future without the PlayStation celebratory element to it? Because I feel like at this point, it's almost like that element of celebration is baked in to the DNA of this game, especially with this being, I would assume, like for a lot of people, this is going to be their first Astrobot game, because a lot of them did not play the VR game and maybe screwed around with the Playroom a little bit. And I was really surprised when you go and look at the trophy data for Playroom, the PS5 game. It's really surprising like how low the 100% platinum completion for it is, when it's a game that is so easy to complete and so short. But then you look at Astrobot, and already the platinum completion rate is like double digits. So a lot more
Oh,
people
good.
are 100%ing. And I think from the recent data that I saw, today is that this was the number 2 biggest game as far as like the week that it came out, as far as making money, and it was only behind NBA, the latest NBA 2K, which that makes sense because it's NBA 2K. But
Yeah.
so this game is already doing pretty well as far as sales. So this is going to be exposed to a lot more people. But I wonder if they could ever reach a point where they could break away from the celebratory aspect of it. Because I feel like they pushed the boat out so far on celebrating it in this game that as much as I love it, I kind of hope the series relies less on it in the future, even though I know that's probably not what they're going to do, because they're going to see a lot of the people talk about how their favorite levels, rightfully so, or things like the God of War level or the Uncharted level or the Loco Roco level or Ape Escape, and they're going to want to go, oh, well, let's do that again. Like I know PlayStation, I know this is how they think now, where they see something as successful and they're like, oh, let's just do it again until people are sick of it, and even then, let's keep going with it. But what are your thoughts on where this little Astrobot could go in the future beyond this game?
I mean, in this game's, or like in this case, I think like as long as they kind of keep that tongue-in-cheek vibe to it, like as long as it, like, to me, like the big thing that this game does that it's like you can't do again is like the finale where it's like we're riding on all of the PlayStation stuff and like using them as weapons in like a space shooter. That's like a thing I don't think you can do again. But as far as just like having these characters around and like being like, oh, you can like collect them and they can do like little things. I feel like that's something that you can always iterate upon and like build on and add more, or like especially like the levels where it's like it's based on a character. That's kind of stuff that I feel like they should do more of. Just because I think like that's where like those levels, they feel very creative. Like those levels where you get to be those characters, they're almost like new. I mean, they basically are. They're another set of power ups, that are distinct from the power ups you get that are just like the little animal buddies. So to me, I just think like as long as they have the ideas, I think they could just do that forever. Now, as far as like the framing of the game of like, oh, like we have to rebuild the PS5, we have to go and like use all of the PS5 peripherals as like a big battle station. That's the thing that I could see getting old. And in that case, I just think you just need to find a new, unique, fun premise. Maybe next time they could turn the PS5 into like a mech, right? Or like, they could,
I didn't think of
like
that.
you could use. Yeah, like I just feel like that's all that really would get old, is if like in the next game a new guy comes in and he breaks the PS5 and now we have to fix the PS5 and we have to then we have to ride all the PS, like that would feel old hat. But as far as like these characters, like we talked about, they've kind of just scratched the surface in terms of what they could do with them, because they show what they could do with them, which is make these kind of unique levels.
Yeah.
Maybe they could also make an Astrobot that is 2-player. And then like you can have like your little, like you and your friend can dress up as like your favorite characters. I feel like the PlayStation side of it can only go up. It's just a matter of finding, like expanding on what's already there, which is the inherent infinite fun of just like, I recognize this character, or I get to dress as this character, or I get to have a level as this character. And then as far as like the general PlayStation thing of it all, which is like PS5, fixing the PS5, just make that unique. Give that a new spin. Otherwise, yeah, I think they can only go up because most of the game is original content anyway.
Sure.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I think that surprised me a lot, because when I saw how many, because a lot of my favorite levels, when I look at the list, I did like a huge, I actually went in when I did my second playthrough, I went in and did like a big ranking of all the levels. And when I look at the levels that are in the S tier, only one is a PlayStation level, which is the Uncharted one, and a lot of the S tier ones are the original ones, like the Trunk of Funk or the Slow Mo Casino or the mouse one. So I think if they were to swap out all the, because I wonder if they could get away with maybe having some power-ups return and then doing new ones. I think that could be a decent compromise, because it's like, I don't want them to spend 5 years and $200 million on something like this. I want them, and if that means asset reuse, where we're going to get some of the old power-ups returning, we'll get signature bosses like the monkey or like the gorilla or the octopus come back, but just be a different style of fight. It's like, all right, that's fine. And if it means they're being financially responsible with how they're making the game, then I'm all for that. Especially if the stuff they're going to be using a lot of the money on is going to be newer ideas and new PlayStation themed stuff. And I would like to see how they could push the boat out even further on the hub world, or maybe instead of a desert, make it like a city next time, where you have different little areas of the city that are themed after the various PlayStation generations, or something like that. Take it even further with this concept. But
yeah, maybe you have PlayStation themed power ups
yeah,
beyond just like the beyond just like the level exclusive ones.
yeah.
You could do stuff like that.
I
And include the animal buddies.
Sure.
So
Well, yeah. I love the dog. I love the the dog is one of my favorites. I love the hen.
yeah,
But I'm wondering, and again, this is from me knowing what modern PlayStation is like. I hope they don't push it too far to where all Team Asobi is now is the Astro Bot studio. Like I
right.
hope I kind of hope what I wish is, I don't think this is going to happen, but I would like for them now to either work on, once they're done with the post-launch stuff with Astrobot, I would like for them to work on maybe a new platformer series, see if they have an original idea, because they've been working on Astrobot for better part of 15 years now as a studio. So
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I think it's time for maybe something new. And then once they've gotten the new stuff out of their system, or if they want to work on a full-fledged new entry in a past series like Ape Escape, like Loco Roco, get a very small team, a small part of Team Asobi to do it. Hell, that could be cool. I would love to see that. But I don't think that's going to happen, because again, I know how modern PlayStation thinks. They're gonna see Astrobot. They're gonna see, already this is being picked as like this is a genuine Game of the Year contender for a lot of people. And one thing that PlayStation loves more than money is accolades. They love seeing those high Metacritic scores. They love seeing the trophies come in for the Jeff Keighley's Game of the Year thing. They love all the attention that their big games get. So to see something that is of a smaller scale get actually like more higher critical scores than some of their big like $200 million games like God of War or Horizon, it's like there must be something within Sony right now that's like, let's do more of this. So they're just going to keep pushing Astrobot further and further and further. And I hope it does not reach a point where I get tired of it, or people start to go, oh god, another Astrobot? Oh, again with the PlayStation Celebration stuff? It's like, again? Like, okay. I wonder how many times they could use this trick before it does start to read as cynical. Despite Team Asobi's intentions, because I feel like they could only do it so much on this kind of scale before the wow newness factor of it starts to wear off. That's my big concern with their future.
I think the best case scenario would just be that these games kind of take as long as they do anyway.
Sure.
That maybe it's one of those things where it's like in 5 years we'll be like, oh shit, a new Astrobot?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Like I think that's the best case scenario, is they go make more Astrobot, and they go, okay, but we're like perfectionists, so it's going to take like a long time, and they go, that's fine as long as you get us accolades and money. And they're like, okay, cool. Like I think that's probably what would happen. Is I don't think they would just like rush out another one.
I mean, this one took less than 4 years with a team of 65 or so core people at Team Asobi. I mean, that's practically unheard of for modern PlayStation. So I hope that kind of lower risk investment and team size is something that PlayStation will take more seriously, especially if, and I hope to God Team Asobi, I hope they invest more in Team Asobi, and I hope this game does make quite a bit of money for them. It's not going to make like God of War money where they're selling like 10 or 12 million copies within a few weeks. It's not going to be like that, but
Right.
I think it will do very well for them, considering the lower amount of investment they put into Astro Bot. In conclusion, Astro Bot, incredible. Easily the best thing I've played all year. If something comes along this year that's better than Astro Bot, I'll be astounded. So that's
Yeah, that means we're living in a pretty good timeline in terms of that. In terms of just like considering everything else is so shit in terms of like Sony and PlayStation or just gaming in general. If we get like 2 bangers of Astrobot level, then that is a miracle. So
Team Asobi they've like shot up in my estimation. I really do think they are the most important PlayStation team right now. They have fully proven to me that they are more than capable of making a game like this. They have nothing left to prove to me anymore. They're one of my all-time favorite studios now. I love these guys. I think they're awesome. I hope PlayStation treats them really well. They're incredible. So talented.
Let's hope we don't live in the timeline where in, a few months from now they go, unfortunately, Team Asobi has been dropped and canceled and gutted like a fish because they didn't perform very well. The end. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I saw a Reddit comment under one of the I think it was under the story of that Astrobot was selling pretty well in the UK. One of the top comments was, if they were owned by Xbox, they would be on the verge of getting shut down. I'm like, oh, that gave me just horrible Hi-Fi Rush flashbacks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's actually that's the last thing I want to say is like Hi-Fi Rush and Astrobot, as far as gameplay philosophy and design, they share very similar DNA, where they are very much old school PS2 ass games, but given the budget of these modern titles to realize their ambitions and make them as the gameplay as smooth as humanly possible. So I just want to say, like, Hi-Fi Rush and Astrobot, they're very much like the DNA is very similar with both of them, not in genre, but in spirit and in style. So
yeah, because what we've learned is that people like fun. We're not always trying to play video games to play a movie. Sometimes we want to actually play just a game, like not a game in like a video game. A game is in like, here's a fun little challenge for your brain. Mm-hmm. Let's play a game. Yeah,
I don't need to play games all the time that make me depressed and make me want to like hit the bottle from feeling intense emotions. I don't need that every time I pick up a controller. I don't need a Last of Us every time I pick up the controller.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did you have any final words you want to say, Ian, before I let you go?
No, I think we covered everything, which I'm very happy for. Play Astrobot now.
Yeah,
that's my final word.
I'll reiterate again, if you want more of these kind of games, then you need to buy this. I don't say that very lightly, because $60 these days is a lot to ask for a lot of people. But if you believe in this kind of game, then you need to buy this. Like you have to. This is the only message they're going to understand, is money. And the best way to do it is just to, it's not like you're making you are making kind of a sacrifice spending $60 on this. But you're getting something incredible in return. You're not getting a shoddy product in return for spending $60 on Astrobot. It is more than it. I would say it's worth, like, I would say if this was priced at $70, I wouldn't bat an eye for something like this. I've played much worse games that were $70. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, Ian, for joining me to preach the word about little Astrobot. And
thank you for preaching it so thoroughly that I finally was like, all right, fine, I'll play it, and it was great. So
I'm happy you gave it a chance. I was like, oh, I hope I wasn't wrong, and I hope I don't get a text. I hope I don't go on Ian's Twitter and see like 6 out of 10 for Astrobot. I'm like, ugh,
it was okay.
it's just okay. And I don't like seeing my Jack and Dexter or my Ratchet being reduced to a cartoon shill promoting some small game like that one dickhead from the Days Gone team. That guy should be fucking grateful that that stupid biker guy is there alongside the company. He's literally in the same area as Wanderer, one of the most iconic protagonists from one of the most beloved PlayStation games ever. Yeah, okay, dude. Sure. Yeah, little cartoon shell. Okay, sure.
Oh
So,
well. But hey,
yeah,
it was a great time.
yeah. I had a blast talking about Astro Bot. I could go on another few hours, but you have places to be. I gotta go eat. So that's that. Thank you, Ian, again. And
No problem.
yeah. Thank you so much to everyone who watched. And I will catch you all later. Please go buy Astro Bot. It is amazing. So have a good one, everyone. Bye.